liquor away halfway through. That's good. That works. There's liquor involved. All right. No, I think that's really, really wonderful. Okay. You guys went out at the break? Any lingering, like, I gotta ask him that you think it'd be fruitful for the group? Y'all okay? I told you I'm gonna test you. Y'all okay? Yay? Yes? Natural and adapted.
Because I find that in work I'm very different than how I am socially.
Yeah.
Because I'm very much
So what she's saying is she's different at work than she is socially. That can be okay. If you socially aren't adapting to things and your natural pattern comes out and you have to behave tremendously against that at work all the time, over time it would create stress for you. It does? Then quit and go do something else. I'm just kidding. Why did I come to this? This is awful. Okay. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to practice. You're going to meet with people right now. You're going to get into a small little group. Get into a group. I don't care how you do it. Just or face people or whatever. And I'm going to give you a scenario. And just really quickly, we're going to talk about it, and I'm going to give you a graph. I'm going to give you a couple of graphs, and you're going to talk about something in behavior, because one of the ways that we learn something is to actually practice it. Okay, so here's the scenario. Jim and his wife go on a vacation. They take an anniversary vacation, and they go away for a long weekend. Okay, you with me? Jim and his wife go away on a long weekend vacation. They check into a hotel. And, you know, it's a honeymoonish type of anniversary-ish thing, and they really want to get away, and it's in a beautiful place, it's on the coast, and they check into the hotel, and they open the door, and the room smells like smoke, there's 2 double beds, and there's no view. Okay? So Jim's wife, Nancy, asks Jim to go talk to the hotel manager about it. Okay, y'all with me on the scenario? Okay? So, turn around. Work with people at your table, just 2 or 3 of you, don't really work on this. These are the 2 behavioral patterns. This is Jim and this is the hotel manager. Okay? So I'd just like you to have just amongst yourself, like talk. I don't care how you break up into groups or whatever. What I'd like you to do is just, here's what I want you to ask. How's the conversation going to go with Jim and the hotel manager based exclusively on what I'm showing you about their behavioral patterns? Go ahead. Think. Let's go. Have a few of you share. What are you talking about? What do you think? Come on, what do y'all think? What are you sharing?
That's not Jim.
What do you think? What's that? Okay, so hold on a second, folks. What was that? The hotel manager is going to, on what? He said the hotel manager is going to close Jim. Like on what? How's that going to go?
keeping it in the room.
Whatever his mood is, if he's up for helping or not.
If he's up for helping or not. Okay. What else do you think? Who's going to eat him alive?
The hotel manager's going to eat Jim alive. Jim, the wife should have got it.
Okay, well, I should probably have this as a slide. I put this one up here because this is Nancy's behavioral pattern, which is exactly why she shoved it down Jim's throat to go talk to the hotel manager. I do this scenario and people start talking about Nancy all the time. Whoa, I can't believe she made him do that. You know, like, wasn't even part of the scenario, man, just whatever. Okay, yeah.
The hotel manager is going to sell Jim, he's going to go back to the room and get killed.
Wow. Hotel manager's going to sell Jim, he's going to go back and get killed. So much for the honeymoon. Nice. Okay. I actually think, you know, and I made this as a figment of my imagination, so whatever. Believe it or not, I think the hotel manager could be mortified. High eyes are into people, right? So if you approach a high eye and go, hey, our room isn't good, eyes can, oh no, you know, they can feel like, oh, no, I'm so sorry. Eyes can get a little emotional because they hurt somebody, okay? But, you know, is her D or his, by the way, is the hotel manager a guy or a girl in your world? Yeah, it was a guy. I don't know. I made it up. I don't know. I had her as a girl, but I don't know why. Guy. Oh, okay. Well, I don't know. It doesn't matter. So, this part of it's kind of funny for me. Remember low C's? Like, she probably will be going, who cares? Like, right? Like, whatever, you know. But that probably wouldn't fly very well. So, yeah. Yes, sir. Is this adaptive? Natural. Yeah. Well, it has to work. They get hired, sir, all dang day. Good for you, you know. But that's interesting. It's sort of a slice of life that we can't walk around just hiring all the perfect people. But you're right, and that's a really good thing to look at is behavior in terms of who we're hiring. And I mentioned this to somebody earlier. For those of you that have kids, you learn this language well, it'll change how you parent. It will absolutely, maybe not change it, but you'll see something differently. You know, I have 4 kids. It'd be so perfect if I had one of each and I could make so. We don't. Okay. My wife's from Italy. My wife is from Italy. She's Italian. Anyone ever been to Italy? Yeah. Okay. It's 58 million high eyes. Come on in. Now that's a stereotype, right? I'm sure there's others. Anyone ever been to Germany? Okay, yeah, right? 84 million D's. We're going to that. Great Britain, again, these are stereotypes, but you get CS pattern, right? Kind of introvert, staunch, you know, it's just, and you can see that when you even go from our country. New Yorkers, hello. Right? They're kind of, they all, ever get in a cab? D, behavior. It's like, why? We're going to get there quick. Like, oh my gosh. And they're going to shut up and have pizza. You know, you're like, wow. And then you come out, you know, the further you go west, people kind of relax a little bit more. So you can kind of see this in behavior. But, you know, my kids, I have a daughter who's a D. And I have and I have 2 I's. But my one son is an S. My son Paolo, right, we're from Italy. So my son Paolo is an S. So if I tell my daughter, well, she's 21 now, but when I used to say, hey, could you go clean your room? You know, I'd be all nice or whatever. She'd look at me like, whatever, you know. So the way that I had to talk to Kelsey was, Kelsey, here's the deal. Your room's a disaster, right? We're agreeing with that. You have 10 minutes. Get up, go, come back, and we'll have dinner, okay? Because I learned that D's, one of the ways they like to communicate is to the point, quick, direct, and with a time frame. Get up, go, come back. But if I go to my son, which I used to do this, because I remember my D's 90, right? Paolo, dude, your room's a mess. He's like, you know, he's like, why are you so mad and yelling at me? I'm like, oh, right? So here's S's. Again, it's kind of like, here's how you talk to an S. Hey. Oh, what's up? How's your room? Yeah, not so good. Okay. What do you think? I should probably clean it. Okay. Later. End of conversation. craziest thing about high S's. When you coach S's, when you coach someone that's an S, because of the stability thing or whatever, S's don't like change at all. Remember that? That's why it's stable, steady. If you can't get an S to think whatever it is you're trying to get them to do is their idea, they simply won't do it. You have to get it to be their idea. So if you're really into studying this model and you come across S's, when I coach S's, it's just a series of questions. You're just asking a ton of questions. And for D's, that's so hard because D's want to go, just do this! And S's are going, nope. Right, but you don't kind of know they're doing that, and it's just kind of, it's difficult. So S's, you have to like, what do you think? What do you think? How about this? What do you think? What do you think? Because you're just trying to, I just have taught myself to think in the interrogative questions because that's what ultimately can get an S. If it's not their idea, they won't go anywhere. All right, last scenario, we'll move on. Here's the scenario. Oh, we'll give you that later. The scenario is it's the last day of the month, you know, like September 28th. And you're a realtor. We'll let you be a realtor. And you've got a deal. It's going to close. And in the 11th hour, let's just say that the underwriter and the mortgage company called for a last-minute appraisal. Okay? Now, you happen to know the appraiser. When I came up with the scenario in my mind, it was prior to the HVCC law where you could actually call appraisers. I don't think you shouldn't do that anymore. We're going to go prior to the HVCC law. Let's say you call the appraiser as the realtor and the deal needs to close because you need to get the commission check, you know, for whatever. It's going to close, but they got to get this done quickly. That's the idea. You're a realtor, you're calling the appraiser trying to convey the essence of urgency of getting this done so that this thing can fund. Y'all with me on the scenario? Okay, you call the appraiser and that's your behavioral pattern, and that's the appraiser's behavioral pattern. Talk amongst yourselves, what do you think that's going to, how do you best influence the appraiser? What do you think? Go ahead, talk. Your team, what do you think? What do you think? What's that? Okay, the question is, what's the most effective way to convey the essence of urgency to this appraiser? What do you think? She said he's going to kill him. What's that? Okay. But I like it. Go with it. You better get this done or I'm not giving you any more deals. So threat. Okay, good. Interesting. Right. But the question is, what's the most effective way to get this appraiser to do that? Would you argue that that's the most effective way? Okay, good. You stick with that.
My clients had to get the truck. They had no place to stay. You know, could you please give me,
Okay. My clients are packed. They're in a truck. There's no place to stay. Could you please get it done? What do you think?
About an exception to the rule, and in this case, it's a life or death situation, so to speak. We don't get the details on that, but there's exception to every rule because he's so into his rules. Maybe he would alter it a little bit to have it be the exception in this case.
Okay.
I think you probably need to appeal to like the analytical side with all the compliance for the high C there and really jump into
Appeal to the analytical side. Yeah.
Try to give them more information, more data.
Feed data, feed information, good. Yeah.
Tell them about the situation and ask if they have an idea of how to be an investor.
That would appeal to his high S for dang sure, and his S is probably a little bit high. That's awesome. Yeah. Again, I created these scenarios to create conflict, right? Because the answer is, this is a really difficult situation. You know, and kind of maybe that's kind of why we watch television or whatever. You know, we see conflict in this. But this isn't unreal. This happens, and again, there's no right or wrong, but again, just for the sake of illustration of behavior, if you call them up and go, you better get this done or else the C's are going to be like, no. They're going to have a tendency to go, because they'll feel threatened. I got to follow the rules. And so really why I put this up there is because if the D doesn't learn to adapt their natural style of going, just let's go, it probably won't have effect on the appraiser. Slow down, give them the facts. This is the case. I loved feed them data. That's probably right. But the reason this is such a silly example is because slow down, give them the facts. Well, there are no facts in the realtor. You're like, whatever, give me on! I'm gonna die! People are in a truck! They're gonna die. If you even allude to that, you lose C's. They don't care. And in fact, sometimes trying to influence a C with emotion has a very reverse effect on what you want. And so you really have to make an adaptation. Now, you know what's really cool about this whole, you want to learn the language and study it and get used to it and all that stuff? Y'all watch television. I know y'all watch television, because everybody does from time to time. Maybe there's a handful of people who don't. Okay? You'll see this on television everywhere, specifically in sitcoms. We actually think it's funny, for some reason. This is The Odd Couple. And when we watch different behavioral patterns interacting with each other, it's funny. Seinfeld is an absolute classic case study of behavior, because you're watching these behavioral patterns interact with one another. And you can see this everywhere. That's one of the things that when we teach this, we have people go, what's your favorite movie? What's your favorite television show? Does anyone watch the show or used to watch the show 24? Anyone watch 24? Okay. Jack Bauer, what behavioral pattern do you think he is? A D, right? That's where we're going. We're going to get this thing done. You know? Watch those poker shows and watch that S behavioral pattern. It's unbelievable to watch that. You have one of those? Thanks, bro. All right. Thank you very much. Thank you. Maybe we can get this to work. See? Hi, I can't get my thing to work. Ooh. Voila, thank you. All right, that was, remember I said we're going to do this about 20, 25 minutes, like 3 hours later. We're doing this, yay! Like people are like, oh my gosh, okay, here we go. Any questions? Any last ones? Y'all okay with this? Take this. Take it to your families. Yes, sir. You can give it to kids. The way that DISC works anyway is the questions that they ask you. Again, it's 24 questions. It's this series of words, and you describe yourself. I'm either this or that. This is most like me. This is least like me. The words are somewhat advanced. Glib. You know, if you're going to have to explain to your 12-year-old what glib means, maybe you got to explain to your 30-year-old what glib means. I don't know. So if they don't understand the words and you have to explain it to them, you've already blown the test because you're telling them what they mean. And so I have just found that it's useful for 15, 16, and they can start understanding what the words mean. But absolutely, I gave it to my kids. They had fun with it. It's just fun. Hey, by the way, don't go out of here and label people, right? That's a really bad idea. You're a D, you're not. No, you're just a jerk, you know? Right? Don't do that. Don't do that. We have a tendency to, we learn something and we overdo it. Or Monday comes around and we forget it. Right? That's the kind of pendulum swing that we do in all of life. This is universal. This isn't some cutesy little thing. This was developed in the 20s and 30s, and in fact it has Carl Jung, the Austrian behavioralist, has a lot of his work in it. This isn't something that's going to go away. And people are going to have behavior on Monday. use this, utilize this. It's a fantastic tool for your business and your life. It's really, really helpful. Yeah?
I didn't realize until you said it today that the majority of the population in the United States is
No, the majority is not an S. It's just the highest one of all four. And I think it's something like, 37%. So it's not the majority. It's just of the four of them, the highest percent of the United States population is S. And my guess is all the research, they didn't have 310 million people take the test. So I don't, but that's just what they're speculating.
So let's say it's a fairly predominant personality right there. When you were describing with your son, I gather there was very little, like there wasn't a lot of talk. I'm trying to understand, is an S personality just into like low conversation and not much conversation?
Here's the funny thing. When you said an S personality, make no mistake, this is not personality. This is outward observable behavior. Because personality includes things like past experiences, education level. I've never seen a disc profile and thought, well, there's a street person. I can't tell you a thing about their past or education or anything like that. That stuff includes in personality. In fact, I'm leery of tests that say they can test personality because I think it's so complex I don't think you can accurately. What we can test is your outward observable behavior, which ends up giving us a window into how you're going to do some things and how you're not, and that's it. So when you talk about communication with my son and all that stuff and his personality, there's more to it than just disc. If this did all your personality, we'd charge you more than $75. A lot more. But that's about what it is. And so with S's, yes, I slow down. My son doesn't want to like go hang out and do a whole bunch of stuff. Since he was a little kid, he kind of wanted to go play by himself. And that was okay. He kind of wanted to go hang out. He's an introvert. Which is kind of weird because my wife and I are not. An Italian lady, right? All right. When people hire coaches, executive coaches, they pretty much want one of two things. Okay, so I'm trying to put you into you're a prospect of mine now, and I'm not going to sell you coaching in the end, so you can put that little funny thing down. But just, if you wanted to get coached, and just putting yourself in that position, what one of two things when people think, hey, I want to make an improvement, there's two primary things that people want more of. What do you think? Business plan, life plan. Yeah, I got that up there a little bit. It's think most basic. What do people want? Results, accountability. You know what? People say accountability all the time until I go through that whole unconscious incompetence thing. They're like, no, I don't really want it. But D's call me up like, I want accountability, and I give it to them. Like right there. And you see how much they didn't want that? I mean, I've got like whole scripts for that. Like, okay, here's accountability. You're telling me you want accountability because you haven't been accountable to yourself in a long, long time. And you're trying to use me as an excuse for doing the crap that you think you should do and should have done, but you really don't. Hey, who do you think you are? You know, they start getting in my face, right? Oh, that was high accountability. You're not, you know, you don't really want that. Okay, but eventually people do, but it's not what they say they want. Success, all right? Two primary things. Love. I mean, now you're going Maslow, right? You know, basics. People don't call something and say, so my love. No, I've never heard that. But you're right. I mean, that's what people want in general. What do they want from a coach? Acknowledgement, yeah. Now you guys are too deep. Think superficially. Money. It's the number one thing people want. If I'm going to spend money with you, did you all know that whether you meant to or not, you spent money with me today? Right? You took time away from your business, which should, for salespeople, should be money. They want more money, and they want more what? Time. Time. Remember that time is the thing that's killing everybody. Time is the thing that's killing everybody. I guarantee you there's maybe even the majority of people in this room going, hurry up, I got to get out of here. My inbox is getting hammered. People are calling me, blah, blah, blah. You're thinking like that because time's crushing us. People want money and time. Okay? It's the primary thing that people want. Look, I've got slides that show that. That proves it for sure. The money thing is very tangible. Hey, coach, last year I made $100,000. If this year I make 200 because of you, we win. Right? Super tangible. We measure it, we look at it, that's fine, we're going to look at that, etc. They have an entire section on time management. The time management section. Well, who's got the time for all that? Right, there's 50,000 reasons. So, look, I told you I'm going to give you a handful of books that I hope you read. How many people read? Yeah, okay. Well, that's nice of you. The reason Borders and Barnes and Noble are going down, a lot of people go because it's all the electronic stuff that we're downloading, and that certainly has an impact. But we coach the president of Thomas Nelson Publishing. We coach people in the publishing business. It isn't because of all the electronic downloads. That has hindered them, and it's hindered their distribution channels and everything like that. Here's the key reason. People don't read anymore. We don't have the time. There's been a huge just drop-off in reading. So when I say who reads and like 90% of you raise your hand, I'm like, okay. I published a book last year. Let me tell you something. Y'all don't read. Perfect timing. Good luck. I do want to make a recommendation to you. If you do read, I'm going to probably, by the time we're done, I'll give you 3 or 4 books that I think are just really fruitful for the topic that I'm talking about. But if you want one on time, if you want to spend the time to read about time and get one right, then go buy and read, or as it were, listen to, if you want to do that, download it, however you want, Stephen Covey's First Things First. That's the name of the book, by Stephen Covey. Okay? First Things First by Stephen Covey. Stephen Covey wrote 7 Habits of Highly Successful People. It was kind of his flagship book. The man passed away 4 or 5 months ago, I think, 6 months ago or something like that. I've heard him speak on First Things First, and he's like, it's really funny, it was a kind of a commercial flop. A lot of these authors, you know, he wrote 7 Habits of Highly Successful People, and it was a huge, millions and millions of copies. He has said himself, while that made him a bunch of money, First Things First was far and away his better book. But nobody liked to read it because it got really specific, right? And specificity makes people really uncomfortable. In that book, hey, I won't tell you everything that's in it, you can go read it, but in that book he really fleshes out what he calls the important and urgent quadrant. And this was written 15, 20 years ago. You fast forward to today, let me tell you something. There's important things in your world, both in your business and your life, that are getting crushed by urgency. But think about that. Urgency and things that we perceive to be urgent are crushing the things that we believe to be important. Health is an epidemic in our country. I need to eat better and I need to exercise. But I don't because I don't have the, yeah. You know, and we have all kinds of fancy sayings, and I'm sure I've used as a coach sayings like, if you don't make time for health today, you will be forced to make time for illness tomorrow. And it's true. Do you know how much, just when they try to measure the overall workforce in the United States, we lose billions and billions and billions of dollars to bad health? And every company knows it. But we're so jammed that we really can't do anything about it. That's just an example. So, some people, there's another great saying, I'll give you sayings, right? Here we go. People don't change until they've had it, heard it, or hurt. People often don't change until they've had it, like I'm fed up. I've heard it, that's the 53rd time I've heard that, or I've hurt. Physically or emotionally hurt. If you believe I should work out and should eat better, and you're not willing to be specific, then it's likely that you will have to wait till you've had it, heard it, or get a diagnosis. And then it could become important to you. And that all goes back to here. You know, all goes back to here. I won't make you raise your hand if you smoke. But here's the funny thing about smokers, and they're not like bad people, it's just if you smoke, you don't need more head knowledge that it's bad for you. You don't need another seminar. They don't need to make the label bigger. I like all those people in the 40s and 50s, you see them all, the movie stars, everybody smoked in the 40s and 50s, and they were like, we didn't know it was bad for us. Whatever. That's not true. You're coughing Smurfs up on your pillow for 20 years. You couldn't breathe. Well, wait, what's bad? What? Sue them, bastards. Like, what? How you knew it was bad? We know some stuff, but until you get a diagnosis, you might not stop. Had it hurt, hurt. All right, time. We're getting things in. We got to get back to things that are important. You want to leave here today. You want these 4 hours to be fruitful for you. Take one thing back, but here's what you'll notice. It's not going to be urgent. What I'm having you think about is important. And that's why Stephen Covey's work is so fantastic, because urgency's killing important. And you can apply that to your life and to your business. I've noticed as a coach, I don't help anybody with anything that's urgent. It's already taken care of. The people that want us help, they want accountability, they want us to talk about things every single time without fail, it is important. But urgency will kill it. I need to prospect more. I need to sell more. Do you know what happens on Monday if you don't prospect more and sell more? You know what happens? Nothing. Really. Not much will happen to you. Do you know what happens on Monday if those people are actually in the moving van and funds don't come or whatever? Oh my gosh, something happens. You know what happens if you don't read that email? If you don't get back to the people? And so we've all of a sudden built this life where, like, we have all these what-if scenarios, and it's all a bunch of urgency. And all this important stuff in our life, okay? How about this one? Ready to get, remember I told you there's going to be a little bit of pain? Ready for some pain? Ready? Ready? You guys courageous enough? Bring it, okay? 60% of our country gets a divorce. 60. 6-0. Now, I've seen that statistic somewhere between 52 and 60, and we've looked at it 60%. Let's just say 50. Half. Now, inevitably, that's impacted people in this room. Maybe impacting right now. You can't sit here and tell me that relationships aren't important. And if you've gone through that, it's okay, I totally understand, but here's what I'd like to ask you. You come to a business thing, I want to build my business, but if your relationships are jacked up and you actually have to go through that, here's my question for you. How good are you at your business in that period? Or maybe even afterwards? Right? So it becomes important to go, how about we work on it before that becomes an urgency? Work itself has become so urgent. I have clients that report to me, I don't even know my kids. I had a client about a month ago, and this client, by the way, I coach some pretty successful folks, people. I just do. I coach many people that make well over 7 figures, CEOs, presidents, even salespeople, very successful people. I had this client come into a coaching call, and this person told me they made just a little over $100,000 last month, and they said, but here's the deal. I feel like a shell. That was the words they used. I wrote it down. I was like, oh my God. I don't know my kids. I'm never there before they go to sleep. I've got all this money and I don't really even know why anymore. Important and urgent. Now, that could sound extreme. And maybe you think the follow-up to that is, I tell you what, let's sell everything and live in a box and we'll all be happy. Right? That's not what I'm saying. I'm cake and eat it too guy. I want you to be successful. I coach people to be successful. I coach people to make more money. But never at the peril of all the stuff that they say is important. And we're doing that to ourselves. And if it's not you, that's fine. If you're sitting there going, no, I'm pretty balanced, I got good for you. Go coach other people. Help them. Because there's too many people out there. Because if it weren't true, then why does 60% of our country now get a divorce? Why is health an epidemic? Yeah, there was a joy suck for the room. You're like, priority management. So I'm going to whip through this thing really, really quickly. We're going to land on 2 things, and we'll probably end the day. I'll try to even be done a little early. By the way, it doesn't matter how good you think you're doing as a presenter. Always get done a little early. People like you more. Oh, early, yay! You're like, oh, bummer. Okay, cool. So people want time. I can help you have more time. I can help you with time. I can help you. We don't even call it time management. You've already heard that, right? You can't manage time. Tick, tick, tick. It's ticking the same for everybody. There's no managing of that. Right? You can only manage your priorities within the time. You get to pick what you get to do. You get to pick what you get to do. There's two words. I've done this whole talk on this of there's these ancient Greek words. You see them scripturally. There's a Greek word for time, and it's chronos. That's where we get the word chronology. And there's a Greek word. It's an ancient Greek word. It's kairos, and it means to make the most of opportunity. Okay? You can't manage the chronos, the clock. You can't manage that. You can only manage your opportunities. You can only manage the things that you're in control over. But too many people these days, because of their own urgencies, they've stopped thinking that they can manage that stuff, and they can. Time blocking. How many people have heard of time blocking? Okay. I've attended a whole course on it. Okay, I'm going to teach it to you in 10 seconds. Ready? You don't have to attend the course. Put blocks of time in your day that you're going to do and do it. The end. All right. Oh, but this comes up and that comes up and this comes up and that comes up, and people always tell me, oh, Steve, you have no idea. Okay, here's a kind of fun one. Again, we're going to put you through a little pain here. How many people think and have thought, I get really distracted during the day? I get distracted. Okay, here's a fun little thing. How many people have kids that are really little? Any little kids? How old are your kids?
1, 4, 7.
7. Okay, so is your 7-year-old a boy or a girl? Boy. You walk into the room. What's his name? Connor. You walk into the room, and Connor's been playing with some, toys, whatever he's playing with, and there was maybe a glass of milk in the room. Here's a glass of water. There's a glass of milk in the room, and it's okay. Take it easy. Just a little water, real clean. And you walk in, and there's milk all over the floor, and you say to Connor, "What happened?" Maybe Connor's a pretty smart kid. I don't know. But what do we hear 7-year-olds say? Okay, first they deny it, right? There's no one in the room but Connor. Wasn't me. Okay, let me ask you this. Ever heard this one? It fell. Okay, have you all heard that? It fell. So, my house, my kids are a little older, but I did this about 6 or 7 years ago when my daughter spilled some milk or whatever, and I pulled her over to the side. And I'm not like Rodney Dangerfield. I get no respect at my house. Like, oh, here comes Coach Dad to give me some lesson. That's what I get at my house, by the way. But I told my daughter, Sabrina, by the way, I said, here's the funny thing. And this is pretty heavy for a 7-year-old, and I get that. I tried to express it. I'll tell you, probably not in the words that I told her, but I said this. The difference between it fell and I knocked it off is so substantial to your life that if you don't start getting it right even now, you're going to carry it into adulthood, and you know what it's going to sound like? It's going to sound like, I get distracted. A little less funny, isn't it? You don't get distracted. You allow for distractions. And until you realize that, you never won't get distracted. You see, I get distracted abdicates the responsibility of the world, and you can't do anything with that. You can't change the world from distracting. You can only change you. How many people know the serenity prayer? God grant me the serenity to accept the things I can't change, the courage to change what I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. You know what you can't change? You can't change the world. Accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things, and the wisdom to know the difference. Did I say that wrong? Oh, okay, good. You were looking at me like, no, that's backwards. I'm like, oh, did I really? You can't change that. The courage to change what I can. What is that? You. We're back to that. And it takes courage. Whoever wrote that prayer is like, guess what? It takes courage to change you. It takes courage to go, I'm not going to get distracted. You want to revolutionize your life? Now, I really feel like I'm going to sell you a set of steak knives, but you want to really revolutionize your life? On Monday, stop allowing for distractions. Stop allowing for them. Now, for all the high eyes, that's almost like saying, just change. We're like, oh yeah, change. Brutal. Because they're people, and I love them. And I know that people are coming into your life whenever and however, and you're giving your time away. And I've literally used these words, and I know it sounds harsh and whatever, but you are prostituting yourself with your time. You're just giving yourself away. All over the place. And we don't tell people, no, and this is when and how. And the handful of those of us that do that, you can help a tremendous amount of people. In fact, you help more people. But that's sort of the irony of it all. You feel like you're hurting some, but you're helping more. You don't get distracted. So time blocking, I coach people to do it. If you've never time blocked before, people hear about that. That's it. I'm going to start on Monday and from 7 o'clock till 7 o'clock have this perfect day. That's a dumb thing to do. You won't have a perfect day on Monday. What you could do is put 2 or 3 things in a week. Because I always coach people like, have you ever time blocked before? No. Start with 1. On Wednesdays at 2, I'll do this consistently. Do that for about a month. And then move on. Okay? Pretty easy to time block. I won't even go into time tracking. Sometimes we have clients come to me like, I swear, I wake up every day, I've got an idea of what the day's going to be about, next thing you know, it's 5 o'clock. And I don't know what happened. Has that ever happened to anybody? Okay. If that happens repeatedly, and people aren't lying, they don't know what happened, we have people time track. I have 3 clients time tracking right now. If I had, as a coach, am forcing you to time track, you are not in good shape with me. It is a painful, brutal, ruthless exercise where I make you track your time in 15-minute increments for 2 weeks. You must write down, I don't care if you go to the bathroom, write it. Tell me what you're doing and tell yourself what you're doing for 2 weeks in 15-minute increments. For the people that have the courage to do this, you will learn something fascinating about yourself. The first time I had to do the exercise, you know what I learned? I didn't do anything for 15 minutes. Zing, zing, go. Well, I was like, I need a shorter time frame, right? Because that's behaviorally high, right? I'm talking, hey, there's a bird. Oh, go over there. That's like. And so I learned from that. Okay? I have this whole thing, and we do it for realtors, and again, I don't mean to pick on that group of people, but realtors, here's a classic thing. Realtors, if I ask you, what percentage of your time do you think you're selling? And what percentage of the time do you think you're marketing? Do you know that realtors at large get that really, really confused because marketing is actually quite easy and it's a deflection. You don't have to be with people. And when they actually measure it, you realize that less than 5% of your time is actually spent selling. And we think we're selling when we're marketing. I've got to come up with that cherry pie recipe. I've got to get that marketing thing done. I've got to get on Facebook. I've got to do all this stuff. And we're actually, it's a big old avoidance to the stuff that we got to do, which is pick up the phone and go, hi, client, or walk out and go meet people. That's selling. If you're not talking to someone, you ain't selling. All right? But if you start to measure that, you'll go, ugh. There's the important urgent quadrant. All right. We're going to rock and roll quick here. Here's the deal. I used to ask groups of people, raise your hand if you have a really good business plan. But you learn as a presenter, and I'm kind of a coach, but I still stand up in front of people. Don't ask people embarrassing questions. You don't get a very good response. Raise your hand if you have a good business plan that you use. So I stopped asking the question. So here's the question. Whether you're in real estate, mortgages, it doesn't matter. What I'd like to know from you is what percentage of the people in your world that do sales in one of these fields, what percentage of them do you believe have a business plan that they use? 20. 10. 5. Huh? What do you guess? 13. Yeah. Okay, if you ever go and hear a presenter speak, and whatever the presenter's saying, they come up with a statistic that has a decimal to it, rest assured they have no idea what they're talking about. Little nugget for you. 13.6% of people, you have no idea what you're talking about. That's just a quick way to have you not check. Here's the answer to the question. I don't have a clue. I don't know what percentage don't. 5, 2, 13, 20. I can tell you, because I coach people to do planning, this is just my own, there's no standard deviation here. The coach in me will tell you this. If you think it's as high as 10%, you're joking. You're kidding yourself. Less than 10%, at least in the worlds that I've run in, and I really have coached hundreds of people, spoken to thousands, way less than 10% have a business plan that they use. Would you all at least, okay, let's say it's 12. Let's say it's 10, can y'all like go, yeah, it probably sounds about right. Yes? No? Okay. Why don't they?
Because they might have to do it.
The number one reason is time. Now, here's one. Again, these are the painful things you choose to write down, not write down. You ready for this? I don't have the time is becoming increasingly, in my world anyway, code for I'm afraid. Not always. Maybe some people really don't have the time, but I don't have the time is code for I'm afraid. Except most of us don't have big enough egos to actually go out and tell people, it scares the crap out of me and I don't want to do that. So what we do instead is just convince ourselves in the world that I'm just very busy, slammed, hammered, when actually it's code for I don't really want to do that because I'm afraid of doing that. The 90% of people that don't have a business plan, what percentage of those, because 90% don't, right? Get the 10-90 thing. What percentage of the 90% believe that they would be helped if they had one? Okay, 90, right? There's always 10% like, stick it to you, I'm not going to do anything like you say, you know, whatever. Okay, so listen to what we're saying. If 90% don't have a business plan and 90% of the 90 believe that they'd be helped, then you have to ask the question, and that's better than asking all of you in here, you know, you don't or whatever, but if you don't walk out and go, I'm going to put a plan together, then you're just one of those folks that doesn't have a plan, and you will convince yourself in the world that you either A, didn't have time, or you were just too afraid to do it. Okay, and if you're too busy to put a plan together that will help you with your busyness, you've got to begin to see what kind of rat race that actually is. It's like the back of a shampoo bottle, right? Lather, rinse, repeat. You know, if you really followed that to a T, high C's, we'll stand there for 10 years. When does that end? Lather, rinse. Oh my, what does it end? Okay? When does it end that we don't have a plan that would help us with time? You know, maybe for those of you that are here, that's what we're doing. I can give you a plan. I brought one for you. It's in your little blue binder. It's on our little website. Now, you might have one in your company, okay? But the way that we like to coach it, especially these days, I can put a plan on one page. If I can give you a one-page business planning tool, make it simple, and actually have you read it and follow it, because that's, you know, some of us go back to college and say, oh my God, a 40-page thing, I got pro formas and marketing, and I just don't want to do it. By the way, if most people put 40-page business plans together, they never read them anyway. We need stuff that we can use. How about business plan on one page? Like that? Okay, well, you have it. It's in your little thing there, and if you want to go download it electronically, you want to give it away to other people. I don't know, if I don't sell it, that might be hurtful to our company, but, you know, take it, have it. A business plan on one page should have 3 things, and I'm going to coach you to what those 3 things are. Again, I'd love to come back. My favorite thing to do, and the Cherry Creek people should know this, but my favorite thing to do is not to talk about it. I want to come back, if you guys would come back, and go, why don't you take an entire day out? Why don't you take an entire day out? And let's not talk about business plan. Let me tell you about it, and I'll go, now go for 2 hours and go do it. Go for 2 hours and go do it. I'll show you a slide at the end of my talk that's called the law of diminishing intent. Y'all are going to leave here, and for some people, you're about an hour away from forgetting anything we did. Seriously. And time will crush you. By Monday, that's why you all agreed that you come to these things. By Monday, you're not doing anything. So if I could, I like to just crush that. I'd say go right now and go do it. You know, right now I can give you the tool. Pray, hope that you will go do it. Convey a message that maybe hits you here, not here, saying, yeah, I'll go take this and this. You're going to do a business plan. On our little one-page business planning tool, it has 3 components. Number 1, know your numbers. Know your numbers. In real estate, again, I have a bigger, hey, by the way, if anybody wants something that I'm talking about, email me. Or, you know, look it up. But I have a bigger real estate planning tool. Do you guys have some real estate planning tools? Cherry Creek? I could fire you off one that's more expansive because it does things like chunk down the numbers. But really, 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 the best real estate agents walk around and go, I know how much we need to close in a year. I know how many listing sides. I know how many buyer sides. I've got ratios in my head that look like this. Every time I meet as a listing and I have a listing appointment, I know what percentage of the time that converts to a contract. I know what percentage of my listings actually expire, you know, and they're walking around with the numbers and they know how much they need to do. Now, I'm heart guy, and I think heart, but you know what? Know your numbers. Because if you don't know where you're going and what you're doing from a numbers perspective, it's really hard to add disciplines to it. But when you're clear about that's how much money I want to make, that's how much business I want to do, I'm really, really clear about that, then the disciplines get easier. Okay, but we're not clear on this stuff. And it's not that hard to figure out. Not that hard to figure out. That gets a little, that's a girl lifting weights, if you can't see that. Disciplines. Now, this is another concept. The disciplines in your business, because we're writing a business plan, if you took the time to go and write down the top 5 or 6 things that you have to do repeatedly, daily, weekly, or monthly, and I just don't have any more time today to go through specificity. But when you get to this part of it, do yourself a huge favor and have the courage to be specific. Because under disciplines, I still get people going, I need to prospect more. Don't write that. It'll kill you because it keeps you in stage 2. Have the courage to say, on Monday, here's what I'm going to do and how I'm going to prospect more. I heard door knocking and stuff like that. By the way, all that stuff that we think, oh, that's so old school, let me tell you something. That stuff's coming back. Because all this technology is forcing people apart. You want a really cool business strategy? How about physically go be with people? Do you know that's back? Right? And I would coach each and every one of you to start preparing yourself for the inefficiency of human relationships. You cannot go, there is going to be a time to call people up and you're going to have to sit with someone and go through some stuff and just listen. But the problem is people are going, I don't have time for that anymore. Really? Some of my top clients they're doing exactly that. They're doing walkarounds. They're going to people's houses. They're calling people up. They're calling people. Get back with people. Get back with people to the best of your ability. But the disciplines that you write down in your business plan, so you've got your numbers, you've got your disciplines, and the last thing is you can't read that really well. Sorry about that. Some of you have heard the acronym SMART: specific, measurable, attainable or achievable, realistic, and timely. If the discipline you write down doesn't, when we did the paper throw exercise, again, not to offend anybody, not one that was read was SMART. There was no specificity. They weren't measurable. Prospect more. If we get to life plan, people say, I'm going to be healthy. Well, how would I know? I can't coach you. Are you healthy? Yeah, kind of. Okay, let's move on. Not specific. Measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. The last part of the business plan, the third part, is projects. Projects are different than disciplines because you're telling yourself you're going to do something, and we have a thing. I put a tombstone up here. Daniel Harkavy, the owner of Building Champions, and myself, we have this kind of funny thing that when we die, there's going to be 2 words on my tombstone: by when. Because that's what my clients tell me. That's going to be written on your tombstone. It's what I do all day long. By when. Because people come up to me all the time and go, I'm going to hire an assistant. Really? By when? I'm going to finally get in shape. Awesome. By when? In fact, most of my clients, they'll start with, if they're good clients, since I knew you were going to buy when me, I thought I'd tell you that first and then tell you what I'm going to do. That makes a good coaching client. Don't make me buy when you. I'm going to learn a new piece of software. I'm going to finally dial in the marketing thing. Because if I was coaching that, I'd go, that's a great idea. By when? Because if we leave it out there ambiguously, we don't say by this certain date. But the difference between a project and a discipline is really crucial. Disciplines you express in frequency. Daily, weekly. I'm going to do something in a frequency. It doesn't matter. Projects are expressed in an end date. I will have that done by a certain date. On one sheet of paper, you could put, these are my numbers, these are my disciplines, and these are my projects. You can fit on one piece of paper. You could squeeze it down to fit on a business card and put it in your pocket. 1-page business plan. And that's mostly what people need. And by the way, accountability can come into play. I have a business plan. My coach has it. People in my company have it. And they can look at me, and it's written pretty specifically, and the questions aren't, hey, did you do that, yes or no? Is that done, yes or no? And I will tell you, it is painful. It's not fun. Yeah, I have a business plan. The business plan I have chaps me, makes me grit my teeth, but I get stuff done. And I'm a high I. And if you're a high I, there's nothing that I know of more common than a salesperson who's really great with people, who can't seem to quite get out to enough people, and they spend their entire life with potential. Look, if you're a teenager and you have potential, it's a beautiful thing. If you start to be in your 20s and you have potential, it's still kind of cute. If you're in your 30s and you have potential, it starts to be a little sad. If you're in your 40s and you have potential, you need to go have a good cry. You should stop having potential at some point and start acting upon it. They had all this potential. You know, some of you are excellent with people, but I get distracted and all this stuff, and you won't go be specific. But if you would, you could actually take potential and actually have it mean something. You know, there's some different measurements of success, but here's the cool part. Do you have the courage to do what you say you're going to do? The essence and the very definition of discipline is to do what you said you were going to, whether you feel like it or not. If you wake up every day going, I feel like this and I don't feel like that. I wrote that in my blog just last week. I was writing and I said, I don't have very many sayings. I just regurgitate other people's. Like, I'm just not that smart, right? But I have one. I'm really proud of it. If I only have two my whole life, I've got to like share them. Like, here's one of them. But I'm really working with this. But how about this one? Until dedication and commitment outweigh motivation and inspiration, you may not get where you want to go. You see, people, oh, I just need to be motivated. What a joke. You don't need motivation. And by the way, if you get it, you're a stay away from losing it anyway, and you got to keep going to get it. If you get motivated, that's not, you want me to say that again? Until dedication and commitment outweigh motivation and inspiration, you may not get where you want to go. Look, I'm okay with inspiration. I think I'm a relatively inspired guy. I think I'm even motivated at some things, but you know, Grant and I were running this morning. We talked about this, right? I was up at 5 o'clock preparing for. I'm not the kind of guy that wakes up. Oh, I love getting up. I hate getting up, just like you. Warm bed, wife, fun, love, warmth. I don't like getting out of bed, but I get out of bed every morning for a specific reason. I'm dedicated to that. I don't care how I feel. You know, I go and I work out, and most of the time, if I'm being truthful, I don't like it. But I do it because it produces something. So there's you know, and by the way, I'm not perfect at everything. I got a whole lot of things in my life where I'm still trying to be dedicated to it. But it's a form of deflection to want to look for motivation, right? That's a Frank Tybalt, if you want to write down who said this, but he said, action creates inspiration. Not the other way around. You know how many people are waiting around to be inspired enough to go take action? It's a joke. Action itself creates the inspiration. So if you know, attend my thing, come to the thing, you know, meet with the Cherry Creek folks, whatever. If you're looking for inspiration and that motivation thing to really get going, okay, you might find it, but I promise you, you're going to lose it soon. So if what you find is dedication, if you walk out here and going, I'm committed, I'm dedicated to something, and it's even one thing and it's small, you're going to win. And stop asking ourselves, we need to stop asking ourselves, do I feel like that or not? Doesn't matter. You know, but, you know, I can even hear myself, I feel like I'm on a soapbox, you know, but I kind of start feeling like we're in a culture that says you deserve something. You don't deserve anything. How's that? The Bill of Rights, life, liberty, and the pursuit of what? Happiness. It's a beautiful thing. But how about life, liberty, and the pursuit of faithfulness? Life, liberty, and the pursuit of goodness, honesty, truthfulness. The pursuit of happiness isn't even a movie, right? I think, this is me, you guys can take issue with it later on, I suppose. I think the pursuit of happiness is killing our country. How about if we pursue goodness? How about if we pursue discipline? How about if we pursue courage? But see, that stuff, it doesn't sell. And let's talk about politics. And next we'll talk about sex and religion, and we'll cover it all. Let's talk about politics. Ready? I'm sick of all politicians. I want one to stand up and go, because to me, politics are primarily about promising the largest group of people something for nothing. All of them, both sides, I don't care. They don't sound real to me. How about one that stands up and says, our country, you guys live in a state, if someone won't start seeing that this state is in serious trouble. I tried to explain to my son the other day that one of your other municipalities is declaring bankruptcy, and he couldn't wrap his mind. How does a city declare bankruptcy? I'm like, exactly. How does that happen? How about a politician that stands up and says, we're hurting? And this place is hurting. And if we don't all, every single one of us, be willing to suffer something, not rich people, not middle class, all this other stuff, everybody, if we don't start sacrificing something, this place could get really, really hurt. Everybody's got to sacrifice something. We all have to hurt for a little while. But you know what? Doesn't that sound right? You're also going, yeah. We'd never elect a person like that. They don't even show up on the radar screen, because politics is all about, no, it's all great and you deserve something and you get this or whatever. Crap. We don't deserve anything. We need to work hard. How about that? There's a discipline. Work. Want to make $1 million? Work hard. Don't quit buying stuff that says 3 steps to making $1 million in half the time. What a joke. It's like going to Vegas, right? I won't ask you who goes to Vegas. Never mind. I believe that gambling is a tax on people that are bad at math. It's just a tax. We're taxing you because you suck at math. Is that wrong? But the same mathematics apply when we think that we're going to attend something, and with half the time you'll make $1 million. Stop buying that. On Monday, at best what you could do is dedicate your something to something small and go do it. And repeat that pattern over and over and over again, and if you did that, you could build on something and start to have a foundation. Make it super specific and you'll win. But it's likely going to be a large pain in your butt. And it won't be easy, it'll actually be quite difficult, but it'll be fruitful. How's that for a message? But see, if we put that on a flyer, nobody comes. I'm trying to figure that out. I'm not kidding. I am on a mission to figure out how do you convey to a group of people something that's real and honest. And by the way, if you can get it across, you do help people. I do what I do because I've seen people make improvements. I've seen change. And it rarely comes because you're promised something for nothing. The change that people make happens because they dedicate themselves to something. So if you're not ready for that kind of change and you keep wanting to, buy something for nothing and you're going to get something for something really easy, just go to Vegas. Same deal. And, just enough people win to make it make sense. Right? You won't make $1 million, statistically speaking, in half the time in 3 easy steps. It just won't happen. Now, that was a rabbit path of like 10 minutes, so forgive me for that. A compelling vision. Again, the time that we have here today, it's quite ironic. At Building Champions, we help people with time. We help people have a business plan. And one of the most crucial things that I help people do is have a vision for where they're going. A written, spelled out, specific, this is where I'm going. We call it a business vision. The document to help you with that says, how do I have a business vision? I put on the website. You want to write a great business vision? Okay, because let's see who can answer this one. Where there is no vision, people perish. King Solomon, Old Testament. Vision, most people that don't have a plan, here's the funny part, when we can help people go, this is where my business is going to be in 5 years. I should be able to go around the room and go, in 5 years, tell me what your business is going to look like. But most people in life are like, I don't even know what's going to look like Monday, man. Like 5 years, what are you, crazy? You know? And it's scary, and it's hard to go, this is what I want to build, this is what I want to belong to, and this is what I want to become. And we walked you through this exercise that asks you some questions to help you build where you're going to go, because here's the deal. If you don't know where you're going to go, what will you plan for? What's your plan about? My experience is plans without visions happen in two ways. Number one, because someone shoves it down your throat and you have to. Or number two, it's based on the emotion du jour. I'm just doing a plan because I feel like it today. But when you have a vision, you're going, that's what it's going to look like. And I can see it. You know, plans are like, I can't wait to write one. I see what my disciplines have to be in order for me to get somewhere. But if you don't define where is, it's hard to make a plan. Anyone ever read Viktor Frankl's work? Man's Search for Meaning? Okay. Viktor Frankl was an Auschwitz survivor, and he was actually in 2 or 3 concentration camps. It's a really wonderful work. You ought to read Man's Search for Meaning. There's another book I think you should read. In this book, he talks about how in the concentration camps, you know what the Nazis used to do? They used to kind of, treat the Jews as experiments. And one of the things that they did is they said, here's what we want to do. We want to prove that this vision thing, like some form of what the future is going to be like, let's take it away from them. And so they told this group of people, here's what we want you to do. We're going to wake up in the morning, and you're going to carry this pile of rocks over to this side of the compound, and at night you're going to carry it back, and that's all you're going to do for the rest of your life. Carry rocks, carry rocks. And they found that over 90% of the Jews after 3 weeks ran into an electric fence and committed suicide. And the point he made was, rather than live a purposeless, visionless life, I'd rather just die. Because they could convince them that's all you'll ever do. And so his book is about, we had to look for something bigger. We had to keep in mind it was going to be better. We had to keep in mind it was going to be something else. And this is where I can get kind of emotional about this whole thing that I've been to, and who's been to third world countries? Okay. Well, here's a recommendation. If you haven't been there, drive a couple hours south and go to Tijuana and look around. We go down there as a group of people. We've been down there for many, many years, and we help this group of people in Tijuana. I bring my family. It's really important to bring our kids there because it teaches us something. But one of the saddest things that you learn about this people down there is as they grow older, they don't wake up every day and go, you know what I could do? They don't think like that. They get up every day and go, I just hope another day happens. They don't have vision. They don't have hope. So it's kind of cool to go down there. Maybe you're going to bring that to them a little bit. But it's really it's one of those things where you walk out and you're simultaneously sad, but encouraged about where you live. The freedoms that we have in this country are off the charts. And you may never know that until you take it away. Right? I've done talks where I'm going to inspire people, but sometimes I just have people, I just, go through and go, look, here's a verse of scripture for you. To whom much is given, much more will be demanded. You're not a group of people who are just, whatever. No, you are given something. I don't care how you define the word blessed. If you define it like I define it, it doesn't matter to me. You'd be crazy not to think you are just living where you live. Right? So some of these things that we're talking about, these disciplines, you wouldn't think so, but maybe it's demanded of you to go back and go, I can be great. Because most of the world can't. They weren't even given our freedoms. But that's a big sociological soapbox. Forgive me. Compelling vision, having one. I tell you, when I've got a client in Texas who wrote probably one of the best visions I've ever seen. We get them back, and some people come back like, I want to make a bunch of money, they're writing some stuff, and I'll challenge people. Is that compelling? Does that fire you up? I want to read your vision and go, I want to be on that team. You can write that. And if you do, a business plan will come out of that. Now, if I gave you a 3-minute break just to stand up and stretch out, would that be okay? But see, if a 3-minute break turns into a 20-minute break, it's bad. Like all the eyes are out there. Stand up and stretch out. We'll take 5 minutes.